Tio, the fans have moved on from grieving, now they're just settling scores. And today, Mbappé and Vinicius are both in the dock.
That's right, and this is a fascinating shift. For the last 2 days, the discourse was basically Vinicius good, Mbappé bad. But some fans have decided to tear that whole narrative down.
There's a comment circulating, tons of upvotes, that basically says, and I'm translating here, they're calling out Julian Alvarez, but Mbappé and Vinicius didn't show up for 180 minutes. That is a brutal take, and it's got people arguing.
And look, the data doesn't lie. Mbappé scored? He did. 1 goal across 2 legs. Vinicius had an assist in Munich. But neither of them was the dominant, terrifying force that you'd expect from 2 players of that level in a Champions League semi-final.
But here's where it gets spicy, because there's another fan firing back, and they say, in a final, it doesn't matter what minute you show up. What matters is that you show up. Ask Mbappé, who only got a goal, compared to Vinicius, who got an assist in a semi-final. So now we've got fans defending Vinicius by attacking Mbappé even harder. ¡Qué barbaridad!
The Mbappé critique is interesting though, because someone brought up the World Cup final, pointing out he was invisible for 80 minutes before suddenly becoming relevant. And that pattern, appearing late when it's almost too late, keeps following him.
Madre mia, that World Cup final comparison is ruthless, but these fans aren't wrong. There's a version of Mbappé who drifts for long stretches and then explodes, and at this level, against Bayern over 180 minutes, that's not enough, and the fans know it.
What I find genuinely interesting is that yesterday and the day before, the fan base was using Vinicius as almost a shield. He was the only one who looked like Madrid. Now some fans are pulling that shield away too. The mood has gone from selective blame to total season autopsy.
Venga, let's be honest. If both your attacking stars were invisible for the majority of a 2-legged tie, that's not a Mbappé problem or a Vinicius problem, that's a structural problem. And I think the smarter fans are starting to arrive at that conclusion.
And that brings us to the broader fan mood today, because there's a real karma energy in some of these comments. One fan just wrote, translating directly, karma, they didn't deserve it after everything they've stolen. Which tells you a lot about how some people are contextualizing this whole season.
That comment is interesting because it feels like a fan who's almost at peace with the elimination. Like they've convinced themselves this was fate, this was deserved punishment for something. I don't know if I buy it emotionally, but I understand the psychological move.
It's cope, Rafa, but it's functional cope. And honestly, after 4 days of processing a 4-3 loss in Munich, I think some fans need a narrative that makes the pain make sense.
Now let's shift to the UCL discourse more broadly, because there are some fascinating comments about the competition in general. Fans are pointing out, and I love this, that Real Sociedad got to a final fulminados, completely running on empty by the last minute, and nobody's talking about the fact that Atletico came in having burned muscle in Champions League. There's a fatigue debate happening.
That's a really underrated point. When you're deep in European competition, the fixture congestion is real. One fan specifically said, translating, someone will say Atletico came from Champions League and burned muscle. For many people, apparently that doesn't count. And that feels like it applies to Madrid too.
Absolutely. And there's another comment about the Champions League that's more forensic. It talks about a team conceding after 15 seconds, a goalkeeper making a silly penalty, a defense that never understood what they were playing for. And while that fan is talking about someone else, every Madrid supporter reading it is thinking, that sounds familiar.
The 15-second goal reference hits different for us because, and our listeners know this, Arda Güler scored in the first minute in Munich. We went 1-0 up almost immediately and still lost 4-3. That's almost more painful than never leading at all.
Don't remind me. Arda Güler, 1 minute, pure magic. And then Pavlovic at 6 minutes, Kane at 38, Luis Diaz at 89, Olise at 90+4. The timeline of that match is a horror film, Tio.
And Camavinga's straight red at 86 minutes is still the moment fans keep coming back to. We've covered Arbeloa's role in that substitution extensively this week, but the raw anger hasn't faded. It's still the wound under the wound.
There's one more comment I want to get to because it made me laugh even through the pain. Someone wrote, translating, another normal day at the office for Cholo. That's how he plays finals. And that's not even about Madrid directly, but it's got this weary, sardonic energy that feels very much like where the fan base is right now.
That comment is doing a lot of work. It's got resignation, dark humor, and a little bit of respect for tactical pragmatism all wrapped up in one sentence. That's the fan mood in miniature right now. Exhausted, a little bitter, but still watching.
Which brings us to what's actually left for this season. Alaves on Monday. La Liga. A campaign that felt irrelevant before Munich and feels even more so now. But you know what? The fans are still here. They're still arguing, still posting, still furious. Hala Madrid.
There's actually news worth noting here. Asensio has been hospitalized with gastroenteritis, reportedly lost 6 kilos. So the squad situation is something to watch ahead of Alaves, though we'll know more in the next day or so.
The season may be in ashes, but Madrid fans are constitutionally incapable of switching off. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more fan reaction as Alaves gets closer. And knowing this fan base, there will be plenty to talk about. Vamos.
Tomorrow's episode drops at 7 as always. Keep the comments coming. You're literally the show. Stay loud, stay opinionated, and we'll see you in the morning.